Well, hello there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Flashpoint Campaigns. I know you guys have been waiting for this one for quite a while, and this is a hell of a battle. It really is. Obviously, it looks like the actual Soviets have definitely entered into Bucholsk. You guys can see all of the massive amounts of casualties that have occurred here, all of the destroyed vehicles, as well as massive damage to the city of Bucholsk itself. And of course, this is the beginning of our US campaign, so make sure if you like this series to hit that like button, share it with your friends, let everybody know about it. We really do want to try to get this out to as many people as possible. Now, we do want to try and contend with the enemy in the center of the actual town here, and I do want to move this tank division, but I think what I'm going to actually do here is I am going to go ahead and select this unit. Actually, I'm going to select the stack, and we're going to go ahead and try and move it deliberately to Debrecen. We're going to move it to the north, really. We probably shouldn't be doing this, believe it or not. I think that right now we might even be better off keeping this unit here, but I want to try and flank the enemy that's trying to take this location, and eventually I want to get over here and, of course, get a victory. So let's see what happens. We'll hold over here, trying to take this town, and we'll go ahead and take this tank right here. He's actually getting some pretty good shots, but he probably would get better shots getting a little closer to the center. So I'm going to move this tank, in fact, the entire stack. We're going to select the stack, and we're going to move hastily over here into this area where we see the enemy. This waypoint is pretty close, so I'm pretty sure that our guys are going to hold out fairly well here, but of course it really depends on quite a lot of different things. Obviously, this tank has managed to knock out a lot of these tanks that are headed for Mullenbach. We want to be sure to keep our eyes on that, and of course we want to go ahead and get a barrage, some suppressing or neutralizing fire, and I'm going to try and put the neutral. No, let's cancel that. Sorry. We'll try again. Let's basically stop that. And it's like I've been away from this game for so long that I kind of forget some of the movements. So I want to go ahead and select the stack once again, and we want to back up a little bit. We want to try and throw the barrage into Bucholsk. I know the people in this town have gone through enough. I agree that it's been pretty nasty in this town, but we're going to go ahead and do a barrage of neutralizing fire over here into the center of Bucholsk, right where we see those tanks. We're also going to drop a little bit to the north and a little bit more to the south over here where these other enemy tanks are. I think that's going to be sufficient, and we'll do the same with this battery over here. We'll go ahead, we'll select the stack, we'll go ahead and get a barrage of neutralizing fire in the more or less the same locations. This is the first time we're actually firing into Steinbeck, which I was trying to avoid because obviously Steinbeck is an area we don't really want to damage too much. It's where we're trying to hold out as best as we can. But at this point, I think it's important to try and get these units out as quickly as possible. I'm also going to select this stack. I'm going to move deliberately into Tojunklingen, and I'm probably mispronouncing that name terribly, but we're going to go ahead and proceed here. We'll hold once we get here. And we've also got this set of tanks, which we've already got on the move. We've already given them movement points into this area. So I think now it's time to go ahead, end the turn, and turn it over to the Soviets. And let's hope that we get some more kills. As you guys can see down here in the south, the Soviets have so many losses, especially over here near Osterberg, and of course right outside of the town of Bucholsk, as well as within it, that I'm hoping that eventually they're just going to give up simply because of the amount of casualties they've taken. So we're going to start here, and of course, we will see how things go. Of course, there's already some gunfire. It looks like our tank is already targeting some of the Soviets. We got one hit, and that's going to be one T-80 destroyed. It looks like there's only one left there. So that HQ, and that is a tank HQ unit, is going to be very important in this battle. Unfortunately, as we can see, we're already taking some major hits here. 2 Bradleys destroyed. I mean, obviously, when we've got T-80s against Bradleys, there's going to be a lot of losses for the Bradleys. It's that simple, especially in these closed city areas. But I'm hoping that our men can go ahead and hold on as long as possible. As you can see, we're firing the artillery into locations where the tanks were. We might, however, be missing some of those tanks. It looks like even our chopper is actually opening fire on some of the enemy infantry divisions that have actually entered the town of Bucholsk. But again, we've got to keep in mind, guys, this is the beginning of what could have happened had the Cold War gone hot And we can already see near Trelde two victory point locations where the enemy has already passed through. So we can be pretty sure that on the B75 highway and on the B3 highway, they've got some tanks. We did just destroy one of their BMPs and a mechanized rifle division, all because of our scout tank divisions. As you can see, those tanks to the north of us are moving as quickly as they can into, of course, the area of combat, and I might send some of those tanks, I might change their trajectory so that they go to those victory points that have been taken by the enemy. Once again, getting some shots with that tank to the north, and since he's going to be moving, I'm hoping he's going to be getting some even better and closer shots on those enemy units, but only time will tell. So of course, the battle continues. I'm hoping that we get a kill here on that final T-80, trying to get into Tojlunshingen. If we can do that, we're going to be in a much better position, of course. And really, we need to do everything we can to kick the guys out of Buchholz. We've definitely gotten some great shots. We've gotten some good hits. But right now, a lot of the shots are missing, as you can see. At this point, there's a lot of chaos, a lot of destroyed buildings, a lot of destroyed tanks. And obviously, it's going to be a challenge, to say the least, for anybody in this town to really get any decent shots. Now, of course, the enemy's firing at us. We're firing back. But there's a lot of chaos overall. And there we go. I think we got the last T-80. Well, we got one T-80. There's still one left. But we're getting some great shots with that HQ battalion. And, of course, that's really the only tank we have on that southwestern side of the map. So we want to try and put up a good fight. I think the only thing that could get victory for the Soviets here is going to be the massive amount of T-80s that they have. It's really one of the few vehicles that is managing to do any damage to us. And the problem is, despite the fact that we've destroyed many T-80s, I would say 40 or 50 maybe, they keep coming. There's so many of them. I mean, remember, this is a total Soviet assault into West Germany. And, of course, this is during the Cold War when there was a split between the East and the West, and they have taken us by surprise. So we are definitely in a position where we don't have as many men as the enemy does, but we might have some better technology. As you can see there, we just got 2 T-80 kills, but they returned fire on our HQ and destroyed our M1 Abrams, one of our last M1 Abrams really in the town, but it did manage to at least take one of the enemies with it, which feels pretty good. Looks like we've also got this tank division firing at the enemies, but the distance there is a few thousand meters, and I'm not sure we're going to be very effective in getting there. We can actually also see the HQ of the 3rd Division moving towards that central town, or that's really more of a village than a town, actually, to try and take over. But we're not moving too many of our units into Buchholz and Steinbeck. We're kind of hoping that our units are going to be able to know what to do once they get here. Of course, it all depends on movement, on speed, on the terrain and weather conditions, and that's going to change. And actually, as you see right there, we just got a kill on another BMP and mechanized rifle division. We've got to keep these kills up, got to keep damaging the Soviets. I'm really basically hoping that the Soviets will just give up due to loss of manpower. Unfortunately, we just lost our M1 Abrams right there, our M1 Abrams HQ, that killed a number of probably 6 or 7 of the enemy T-80 tanks, and we also just lost another one. The commanding officer, myself, has been killed. Wow, so I've actually been killed in town, and the command is shifting to the 552nd company. Communications nets have been disrupted and will take some time to be reestablished. As you can probably imagine, that's going to cause some serious problems for us. If we killed the enemy commander, we'd be in a much better situation. Just lost one of our cavalry scouts. Not really somebody that I would expect to get many kills anyway, but it's definitely a cause for concern, and we need to be prepared for what's going to happen next. Now our command is shifting. The enemy has scored a direct hit on our commanding officer, of course, causing some major disruption in our tactics, and definitely going to change the battlefield quite a lot. Also, keep in mind, guys, that if you like this series, this has been one of our more successful series in our grand strategy games, so make sure to keep supporting it. By the way, there goes our artillery strike. I'm hoping to get a kill here on one of the T-80 tanks. We'll see whether or not it results in a kill. But really, this area over here is extremely important to us. We just lost a heavy machine gun, which, considering all of the T-80s there, I'm not surprised at all that that's occurring. There goes another artillery battery opening fire on the enemy. We're going to strike the hex where the enemy HQ is. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to destroy the enemy HQ. But I think it's going to be pretty unlikely. A lot of the enemy HQ divisions are way back. We've already seen them in the back of the map, and we'll see what happens. Go ahead and continue the fight here. Now, we are trying to move forward with this tank division, the 4th Battalion. but it looks like he's more focused on targeting the T-80s to the north of him than moving, which, to be honest, sort of makes sense. I would probably do the exact same thing. I think at this point, for us to get a victory, we got to get some good hits. There's a beautiful hit, another T-80 killed in that hex. At the very least, if we lose this battle, which I'm hoping we won't, we have definitely put a serious amount of damage on the invading Soviet forces, and it's going to take them a long time to recuperate from this. Just the amount of destroyed vehicles here is enough to send any army into flight, really, just to get the hell out of here. There we go. Let's continue. And as you can see, those T-80s are still moving through the south. Looks like we just got a kill on one of their mechanized rifle divisions, another infantry division that we've killed. But I'm more concerned with the enemy tank divisions. There we go, losing one more Bradley and a mechanized rifle division on our side. And clearly that T-80 is going to destroy that mechanized rifle division. It's sort of trapped between the enemy forces. I would not want to be that unit. In fact, I think they would be in a good position to probably surrender. There's really not much they can do there with all of the T-80s surrounding them. There's something like 16 to 20 T-80 tanks just in that tiny area alone. And obviously anybody is going to have trouble destroying or disrupting that many Soviet tanks. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and continue. Now they're hitting, of course, another mechanized rifle division. We've lost a lot in the south of Bucholsk, guys. In fact, it looks like the only resistance we have left, at least in Bucholsk, is in the north. We do have a tank division there, and we've got tank divisions on the way, as you can see here, coming from Arbach. But we need them to get there quickly. We don't want to be in a position where we are trying to take the town back from the enemy. That's going to be a very difficult situation, and that's one of the reasons I think it's so important for us to basically hold this town as long as possible, no matter what it takes. Even if it takes basically just sending in infantry units to get some shots with some Stinger missiles, something like that, some TOAWs, we could probably do a serious damage to the enemy. Right there, we just got an a BMP, and a mechanized rifle division. We know that we're going to pretty easily do some damage to their forces there if they're not in their tanks. And it looks like we just got an artillery strike right there on the 3rd Battalion, infantry battalion, mechanized infantry, I should say, and a strike to the south here of Bucholsk. A lot of artillery dropping around Bucholsk, and I'd love to see what this town looks like afterwards. As you can imagine, the devastation of this incoming fire is going to cause rebuilding in this town for probably decades to come. I don't think it's going to be recovering very quickly, but at least the fight is continuing, and our men are holding out, even though they are losing a lot of men there. Another M3A1 Bradley. Of course, I actually needed my Grognard friends here on the channel to tell me that that's not a tank. That's actually an APC, which I wasn't aware of. I thought Bradleys were tanks. There we go again, once against the 4th Battalion, trying to get shots on the enemy, but at that distance and at the elevation, as you can see, they're both kind of on a hill, but the distance is too high. I just don't think we're going to be able to get hits on that unit, and that's kind of why I wanted our tank to move to the north. But now I'm starting to think we might want to bring our tanks into town. Now here comes one of our artillery strikes. Let's see if we get lucky and get a hit. Another shot over here with our artillery. It looks like we're expelling all of our artillery over here. We did destroy one BMP with the artillery strike, which by any stretch of the imagination is a pretty good shot. But obviously I would like to be getting many more kills than that. Here's another artillery strike, and unfortunately we're now also harming the civilian population of Bucholsk because we're really hitting areas in many cases that have no enemies in them whatsoever. Once again, the 4th Battalion trying to fire up there to the north. And, of course, we've got that huge group of enemy tanks. It's going to cause some problems for us for sure. I'm not sure if our chopper can do anything but destroy enemy infantry vehicles. It's not really that effective against enemy tank vehicles, but they are definitely moving forward with those T-80s, and we're moving forward with our Abrams as well. We're trying to get there as quickly as we can with the Abrams. I'm thinking once we get to that 800 spot, we might go ahead and go south on the B3 highway that you guys can see there, and I'm pretty sure that the movement on a highway in this game is actually increased. So for instance, if you've got a unit moving on the highway, it's going to go a little bit faster. So I think we could probably get to that 800 star near Trelde, maybe take it back, and maybe even put a fight up against the enemy. Of course, it looks like they're making their way into Steinbeck, and I wasn't hoping for that. Surface-to-air missile launch by the enemy missed our chopper. Very, very lucky helicopter there. He's made it through a lot throughout this campaign, and we want to make sure or hope that he survives. But right now, of course, it's just constant warfare, constant firing. And look at that. We got a beautiful shot with a 4th Battalion killing 1 T-80. But look at how many more groups, companies of T-80s are approaching. And this is just intense. Obviously, those tanks near Debrecen, we finally got a hit. Look at that, guys. Another T-80 killed. And we've got some more tanks on the way. So we might be able to take Debrecen pretty quickly. If we can attack from the north at Debrecen and from the west at the same time, we stand a chance at maybe regaining that town a little easier than we expected. But of course, only time will tell in this situation. And look at that. They're trying to definitely knock out our choppers from the sky. I'm trying to stop that eventuality, but I'm not sure what we can do. Obviously, that area right there to the west is in some trouble, and we just lost another M1 Abrams. Also, the enemy just took that victory point. We're going to try to take it back. I'm probably going to assault with the 4th Battalion since they don't seem to want to move to the north. Maybe they'll be more willing to move south and engage the enemy as quickly as possible. We're going to have to go ahead and see how that goes. Look at that, another hit on an enemy BMP. Every single enemy that goes down at this point is helpful because once they get to, I think, 80% or 75%, the enemy automatically loses. But we're not looking too good ourselves. We just lost one of our Stingers. Of course, the enemy doesn't have any choppers, so I'm not too worried. But losing that Kiowa helicopter that we just lost does make me a little sad. I was hoping that it would survive this entire conflict. It's looking less and less likely that that is going to happen. Let's see if the battalion can get a shot here. Unfortunately, over here, we don't have anything. These are Stinger missiles that we're using. Had I known that, I probably wouldn't even have moved this unit up. And those Stingers really can't do anything against a T-80 tank. It's got to be a TOAW. And I think we've just about run out of TOAW missiles, really. We've used them throughout this campaign so much, and I haven't seen a single one being shot in this particular part of the campaign. So we're really relying on the arrival of our tanks to make a difference here, really. There we go. The Kiowa is going to fire on that T-80, but again, ineffective fire, I think, pretty much. The BMPs are also trying to knock down our Kiowa. There's a lot of them firing here, and eventually they might actually hit it, but it looks like the surface-to-air missiles are much more effective at destroying it. And one thing I like here is that the Soviets are moving up on the B3 highway. Remember, we're trying to move south on the B3 highway, which gives us a tiny opportunity to meet them, you know, halfway and maybe get a major tank victory there. After Steinbeck and Buchholz, of course. But for sure, the Soviets have come in force, and we are in a position of pretty serious danger. We just destroyed 2 T-80s there. Once again, knocking out some more Soviet tanks. And there's an ATGM launch. Beautiful. Knocking out a mechanized rifle division, probably a BMP, carrying some enemy infantry units or something of this nature. And surface-to-air missile launch by the enemy. That could strike the Kiowa. I'm hoping it's not going to, but anything is possible in a war like this. Here we go, guys. Another bit of artillery fire from our men, and once again striking a position with no units in it. Of course, there were units there before, but they've moved since, and we are just destroying so many homes here that I'm assuming that the population might even be happier with the Soviets with the amount of damage we've done here to the town. Although we're not the only ones that have hit this this town with shots that didn't hit any targets. The enemy has as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And there we go. We actually got 2 BMPs. We didn't even see them. 2 beautiful BMP kills there with the artillery. Probably a direct strike. The more we get of those, the better, obviously. Of course, here we go. The enemy is now firing at our tank, doing their best to try and hit it. We're going to fire there. Come on, let's get a hit on that T-80. It doesn't look like there's many enemies in Debrecen. But again, we don't have any scouts in that area, so it's hard to tell anyway whether or not we're getting any good shots or not. Obviously, with the loss of our HQ, it's going to be even tougher for our men to coordinate. But there we go. We got a Gremlin and a BMP. The Gremlin, I'm not really worried about. It's really made, once again, for surface-to-air missile launches, SAM launches, basically. And we only have 1 Kiowa anyway, so I'm not too happy. There's another ATGM launch by our infantry, and we got a T-80BV with the ATGM. So it looks like some of our infantry divisions do still have a few of these missiles in store. So as you can see here, the max visibility has changed to 1,500 meters. Of course, this counts for a lot, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, we lost another headquarters division. We've killed a lot of enemy headquarters divisions too, but every time you lose a headquarters division, that's obviously a major loss, a major bash to your morale. And obviously, if there's no communications, no radio communications whatsoever happening, you're going to have some problems. We do have a suspected enemy HQ over there. I could target it with my artillery, but I'm thinking the distance is too great, and I'm not even sure if that's in our best interest. I think right now in our best interest is to keep hitting Buchholz. After all, the town is almost completely destroyed already. We did take back that 800 point, and we're moving south on the B3. I'm hoping that our 3rd Battalion on the B3 can get some beautiful shots. Enemy just fired an artillery strike here at our tanks. I'm hoping they're not going to get a strike. Another enemy artillery strike here, and they might even hit their own units. That's what I'm hoping for. Unfortunately, it looks like they managed to kill one of our Bradleys, although it would be hilarious to see them knock out one of their own tanks, and they did. Look at that, guys. Well, they knocked out one of their BMPs. Nonetheless, hilarious that that would occur. Maybe they also need some better coordination. And there's an artillery strike all the way to the west, so maybe it is possible for us to hit that HQ. It's just going to take a little longer, a few more minutes, obviously. So maybe next time we need to focus on firing at the enemy HQ. I'm going to let you guys decide. We've got another ATGM launch, knocking out another T-80. But if you guys think that it's a good idea to go ahead and strike the headquarters and basically ignore the enemy tanks for now, let me know in the comments down below, guys, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Our men are on the move. They have fought very hard, and you can see here just the amount of casualties in this battle has been absolutely extraordinary. I think the enemy has definitely taken more of a hit, but once they got into town, we started getting hit really hard. I also want everybody to know that if you've just started watching this series, you definitely want to take a look at the playlist, which I'm going to try to put down below, and watch the beginning of this battle, because it's just become an incredible fight, really. And we started off getting some incredible shots. We're still getting incredible shots, but it's going to take a lot to actually get a victory here. This is, of course, the first time I actually ever played Flashpoint campaigns in terms of trying to go for the campaign mode, and I'm hoping that we're going to get a victory, because I'm curious to see what comes next. There's still a lot of fighting to be done, and still a lot of victory points to be gained. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and have a great day.